Jan Huyghen van Linschoten was a Dutch merchant, trader and historian. An alternative spelling of his second name is Huyghen. He traveled extensively along the East Indies regions under Portuguese influence and served as the Portuguese viceroy's secretary in Goa between 1583 and 1588. He is credited with publishing in Europe important classified information about Asian trade. In 1596 he published a book, Itinerario, which graphically displayed for the first time in Europe detailed maps of voyages to the East Indies, particularly India. During his stay in Goa, abusing the trust put in him by the viceroy, Jan Huyghen's meticulously copied the top-secret charts page by page. Even more crucially, Jan Huyghen's provided nautical data like currents, deeps, islands and sandbanks, which was absolutely vital for safe navigation, along with coastal depictions to guide the way. The publication of the navigational routes enabled the passage to the East Indies to be open to trading by the English and the Dutch. As a consequence, the British East India Company and the Dutch East India Company broke the 16th-century monopoly enjoyed by the Portuguese on trade with the East Indies. Origins. Jan Huyghen was born in Haarlem in the Netherlands, the son of a public notary and his wife. The family moved to the town of Enkhuizen when he was young. The addition of Van Linschoten could indicate that his family had origins in the Utrecht village of the same name. Early life. Huyghen left for Spain during December 1576 to live with his older brother Willem, who was working as a merchant in Seville. He learned Spanish and worked there until 1580, when he got a job in Lisbon, Portugal, working with another merchant. A downturn in trade led him to seek alternatives. With the help of Willem, who was acquainted with the newly appointed Archbishop of the Portuguese colony of Goa, Dominican Vicente da Fonseca, the younger Huyghen was appointed secretary to the Archbishop. Huyghen sailed for Goa on 8 April 1583, arriving 5 months later via Madeira, Guinea, the Cape, Madagascar and Mozambique. Goa. While in Goa, Jan Huyghen kept a diary of his observations of the Portuguese-ruled city, amassing information about the Europeans, Indians, and other Asians who lived there. He also had access to maps and other privileged information about commerce and Portuguese navigation in Southeast Asia, and used his cartographic and drawing skills in order to copy and draw new maps, reproducing a considerable amount of nautical and mercantile information. Several of the nautical charts that he copied had been meticulously kept secret by the Portuguese for more than a century. Late, after returning to Enkhuizen, he collected accounts from other travelers, such as Dirk China Gerrits, a fellow resident of Enkhuizen who earned his nickname from his travels in the Far East. Jan Huyghen made note of the trading conditions among different countries, and the sea routes for traveling between them. This information later helped both the Dutch and the English to challenge the Portuguese monopoly on East Indian trade. The 1587 death of his sponsor, the Archbishop of Goa, while on a trip to Lisbon to report to the King of Portugal, meant the end of the Huyghen's appointment. He set sail for Lisbon in January 1589, passing by the Portuguese supply depot at St. Helena Island in May 1589. Back in Holland, the voyage was interrupted by English piracy, which forced a shipwreck. Huyghen spent 2 years in the Azores. He did not reach Lisbon until 1592, returning to his home city of Enkhuizen. In June 1594, Huyghen sailed from Texel in the expedition headed by Dutch cartographer Willem Barend Sz. The fleet of 3 ships was to enter the Kara Sea, with the hopes of finding the northeast passage above Siberia. At William's Island, the crew encountered a polar bear for the first time. They managed to bring it on board, but the bear rampaged and was killed. Barent Esed reached the west coast of Novaya Zemlya and followed it northward, before being forced to turn back in the face of large icebergs. The following year they sailed again in a new expedition of 6 ships, loaded with merchant wares that they hoped to trade with China. The party came across Samoyed wild men, but eventually had to turn back when discovering the Kara Sea to be frozen. Linschoten was one of the 2 crew members to publish journals about the Barent Esed expedition. In 1595, with assistance from Amsterdam publisher Cornelis Claus, who specialized in shipping, geography and travels, Jan Huygens wrote Reisgeschrift van Navigation der Portugeloises in Orienten. This work contains numerous sailing directions, not only for shipping between Portugal and the East Indies colonies, but also between India, China and Japan. In the same year, he married Reinoumen as Dr. Siemens of Enkhuizen. She was already 4 months pregnant by her intended second husband. At the time of her courtship, Reinu Siemens was 31 and a mother of 3. Her lover's voyaging career may well have hastened the consummation. Jan Huygen also wrote 2 other books, Beschrijvingen van de ganse kust van Guinea, Manakongard, Angola en de tegenover de Cabo de S. Augustin in Brazilian, De Eigenschappen des Geheulen in Oceanisch Seas, published in 1597, and Itinerario, Voyage OFDE Schivert van Jan Huyghen van Linschoten en Aer Oost OFDE Portugals Indien, 1579 to 1592, published in 1596. The frontispiece of the first edition pirated the engraving from a work celebrating the campaigns of a Spanish general and printed up as the Dutch hero by his publisher Joost Gillis Hugman. The map published in this book, exacta and amp accurata de Linasho, Regionibus China, Cochinchina, Cambodia, Sivkampa, Syo, Malacca, Arakan and amp Pegut, was prepared by Petrus Plantius. An English-language edition of the Itinerario was published in London in 1598, entitled Huyghen van Linschoten, his discursive voyages into East and amp West Indies. A German edition was printed the same year. Considered very significant, it was published in Latin in Frankfurt, 1599, another Latin translation in Amsterdam, 1599, and in French in 1610. In addition to detailed maps of these places, Linschoten also provided the geographic key to unlocking the Portuguese grip on passage through the Malacca Strait. He suggested traders approach the East Indies from the south of Sumatra through the Sunda Strait, thereby minimizing the risk of Portuguese intervention. This passage eventually became the main Dutch route into Southeast Asia and was at the origin of the colonization of the territories that form today's Indonesia. Linschoten died in Enkhuizen, where he had acted as treasurer to the town. Legacy and honors. The Linschoten Society was founded in 1908 to publish rare or unpublished Dutch travel accounts of voyages, journeys by land, and descriptions of countries. It is based in the 21st century at the Amsterdam Ship Museum. ABN AMRO Bank of the Netherlands established the Jan Huyghen van Linschoten Award in his honor, a Business Excellence Award. In 2007 it was awarded to the Netherlands-based creative firm OMA for its success in entering and maintaining business in emerging markets such as China, Kazakhstan, and the United Arab Emirates. The minor planet 10,651 van Linschoten is named after him. Additions 1598 English translation, John Huyghen van Linschoten, his Discourse of Voyages into ye East and West Indies, divided into 4 books, London, John Woolf, online. In Woolf's ordering, the first book is the 1596 Itinerario, second book is 1597 Beschreibungen, third book is the 1595 Reisegeschrift and the fourth book is Linschoten's translation of the revenues of the Spanish crown. In other editions, the second and third books are often switched around. 1598 John Huyghen van Linschoten, his Discourse of Voyages into ye East and West Indies from the collections at the Library of Congress. 1874–85 English edition, The Voyage of John Huyghen van Linschoten to the East Indies. 1874–85 edition, London, Hakluyt. Reprint of only the first book of 1598 translation. Additional reading. Bernal, Arthur Coke T.L.P.A. The Voyage of John Huyghen van Linschoten to the East Indies, from the Old English translation of 1598, the first book, containing his description of the East. London, The Hakluyt Society. Full text at Internet Archive. Van Linschoten, Jan Huyghen, The Voyage of John Huyghen van Linschoten to the East Indies, Libron Classics, The Hakluyt Society, ISBN 1-4021-95079. Van Linschoten, Jan Huyghen. Voyage to Go and Back 1583 to 1592, with his account of the East Indies, from Linschoten's Discourse of Voyages, in 1598. Jan Huyghen van Linschoten. Reprint. New Delhi, AS 2004, XXIV, 126p, $11. ISBN 81-206-1928-5. Singe, J.B. A Book of Discovery. Yesterday's Classics. ISBN 1-599151928. William Barrett Ested and the Northeast Passage. University Library of Tromsø. The Northern Lights Route. Retrieved 18 June 2010. Komen, C. Jan Huyghen van Linschoten, Revista da Universidade de Coimbra, Volume 32, p. 27–47, off-print.